Hello friends, in this video we are going to look at a very important function of Excel, that is Vlookup and Hlookup. Suppose you have a data set that runs into thousands of line items and you want to find the value of a particular line item, then scrolling through the entire data set manually can be a very tiring and time consuming job. So that is where this function helps us. Over here, we have the details of marks obtained by 50 students in English and in Maths. Now, from this data set, suppose I want to know how much marks Ram obtained in Maths. So, we can use the VLOOKUP function. So, how do we use this function? First, so over here there are four parameters that you will have to enter for Excel to give you the correct answer. The first is the lookup value. That is, what value do you want to search for in this table? We want to search for the marks obtained by Ram. So we have mentioned Ram in column H6, sorry, cell H6. So we select this cell, then we select the table where we from which we want to pull the data. Then we select the column number in which the marks is stored in the table. In our example, it is column number 3. And last is the range lookup, which can be either true or false. So let us look at false. When we use this function, Excel gave us the output as 87. And as we can see in our table, Ram had got 87 marks in maths. Let us analyze this formula in detail. So what did we first do? We first selected the cell in which the name of the student was mentioned. Then we selected the entire table where the marks are stored in Excel. Then we mentioned the column number. Now it is important to note over here that the marks obtained in maths is stored in column D, which is actually the fourth column of our Excel sheet. But we have mentioned over here 3 because we have selected the table from column B to column D, thereby making column D as a third column in our selected table. Had we mentioned column 4 over here, we've got an error as hash ref. This is because in our selected table, we had only 3 columns. There is no fourth column in our table, so Excel could not find the answer. So when we selected 3, we got the correct answer. And then we selected false. Now what does this false imply? False means that in our selected table, Excel will look up the value which matches exactly with RAM and no other word uh, similar sounding name will also appear. For example, if I mention say RAM comma, then on using this formula we are getting a NA error. This is because in our table RAM is mentioned only and there is no comma. Now suppose instead of false I mention true. Then Excel has given the output as 45. That is because let us see in our column what who has obtained the 45th marks. So near to R we had K. So what did Excel do is it found an approx match of the value that we had entered in the H cell and given us the output. So we can say that when we have a function, when we mention it as true, then we do not exactly get the correct figure. It searches for a name which is somewhat equal to the name that is mentioned in our selected cell and then gives the output accordingly, which might also not be right. For example, let us put another name. Udit. We mentioned Udit. So even though we had an exact match over here, giving us 90 should have been the answer, but instead we got as 32. So let us see who all has obtained 32 marks. So there was only one person who had obtained 32, which is not the correct answer. Therefore, it is very important that we always select false in our VLOOKUP function to get an exact value. Suppose this data is arranged horizontally and not vertically. Then, in that case, we have to use the Hlookup formula, which is very much similar to the Vlookup formula. The only difference being is in this also, we select first the cell in which the name of the student is mentioned. Then we select the table, and then instead of the column number, we select the row number in which the marks are kept stored, and then we select false, and we get our output accordingly. Again, over here, the row number is the number mentioned according to the table that we have selected. So even though the marks stored in maths, give marks obtained by the student in maths is stored in row number 5, we've selected row number 2 because in our table it is stored in number 2 row, and we have selected false to get an exact match, as true might often not give the correct answer. So just to summarize, for using a VLOOKUP function, first we have to select the cell where the name of the student is mentioned, that is for whom you want the output. It is basically an input. Then we have to select the table in which the values are stored. Then we select the column or the row number where our output is stored. And finally, we mention false so as to search for an exact value sought by us. I hope this formula is clear to you. For more such functions, subscribe to our channel. Thank you.